Parents of children, how do you handle giving technology to your kids? Do you let them have phones? Do you look through their phones? What's their screen time all about? Today, our defendant is worried that he's maybe too strict with his limitations. We'll talk about it. Stay tuned for our verdicts. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, hold the phone.
Hello and welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geek case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. And if you'd like to help support maybe I shouldn't this week. We should talk about the Patreon might not be around anymore after this. I feel like this is probably shouldn't. I shouldn't.
You don't want to just keep it up?
I don't. Maybe.
Just in case?
I don't know. There might be a reason why we want to keep the Patreon up. But I mean, patreon.com/geeksontrial if you want to.
Yeah.
But, we have some news this week. We didn't do news last week. We kind of cut the news out of our show for one episode. And I'm gonna let you, we're going to discuss the news together at the exact same time.
Okay. You're going to do a countdown or?
3, 2, 1.
RFK and Elon Musk are the new hosts of Geeks on Trial.
That's it.
We're out. RFK and Elon are in.
They're bringing their bags of McDonald's and their Trump gold cards, and they're going to take over. We're going to
Elon, he bought us out.
Yeah, for like $25, which is actually kind of cool. We
haggled. He initially offered 20.
Yeah,
and we said, No, Elon, we're no fools. We know you've got a stash of cash in your back pocket.
Give us that $5 and maybe the rights to Vine.
That's a foot long right there. Well, not anymore. Now it's $9.97.
Right.
No, folks, the real news is this. Geeks on Trial is coming to a close. We are on the verge of our final verdict.
Yes.
The court will soon be out of session.
Yes, which is great because all these people have been sitting here for almost 2 years, and just kind of, we need to let them out of their court seats, if you will. The judge needs to go. Oh, I guess we're the judge.
No, that's
the lawyers.
The bailiff, the stenographer.
Right. Oh, yeah. The stenographer's been working hard.
The plaintiff, all the jurors, of course.
And I mean, the truth is the rent is due. We have to sign a new lease on the courtroom, and it's very expensive. I don't know if you've known this, but the cost of living has gone up in the last 2 years, and it's time.
We just can't afford it anymore. And this is a joke, but it's not a joke. Next week will be our final episode of Geeks on Trial. The show has run its course, but if you're watching and you've enjoyed it, we appreciate you and we thank you for it.
But the truth is,
you can still enjoy this week's and next week's.
Not enough of you watched it. That's why we're kind of ending it.
Maybe
we needed more.
Maybe nobody watched it.
Right. We don't know.
It's your fault.
You never, we set up this, how I say an email at the beginning of every show? Yeah, no one.
Right.
Not a single person.
Right.
And I do want to send a special thanks out to anyone who signed up for our Patreon. Thank you, Danny.
We appreciate that. Listen, sometimes you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away.
Floss your teeth.
I've never learned that lesson.
Oh, I know.
But hey, don't be sad because it's over. Smile because it happened. And we still have a whole episode today. And again, we're going to be coming back next week with a big finale that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have fun.
I am too. The end? You're looking forward to the end?
Well, as soon as it's over, that's when the right there.
What?
One in the mouth, 2 in the south. Sorry. I don't know. That just came out. I just happened that way.
That's why we're ending it, because we're soon to be canceled.
Yeah.
At this point,
canceled. I might as well just, you don't know where to point. You don't know.
I don't know what side I put you on.
You don't know. You might as well go out with a cancellation.
Right.
Otherwise,
might as well just end your career as you
Yeah, I don't want. I'm
Is
gonna
that
run
a-
for office soon, so
Is that an actual saying? One in the mouth, two in the south.
no, I don't.
Okay,
I hope I'm the first
hold
one
on.
who's ever said that because I really don't like the implications of it, and it makes me very uncomfortable that I said it. Okay, you're now googling. You are now on an FBI watch list
Nope, it is
for.
not.
Oh, great! So I'm an original. I mean, it
So
does
you,
flow right off the tongue, though, doesn't
well,
it?
you should. Well, that's how that starts.
Well, look, there's only basically one thing that rhymes with mouth, and it's south.
Right.
So
Well, you should. If you put it onto Urban
Brandon
Dictionary,
Routh.
do you get a credit for it?
Yeah, I
If you're
think
the first
I
person
think
to say. Okay.
you get $5 every time somebody clicks on it too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they put ads on there and everything can
Right.
monetize your Urban Dictionary.
One in the mouth, two in the south.
Well, we are still going to make a T-shirt of that, so
Right.
look forward to that.
Well, we have to make
soon.
money somehow. These
Yeah,
videos
yeah,
are still going to be up on the YouTube and stuff, so we
Yeah,
gotta still monetize. So,
But
do
folks, we have a case.
we have a case?
We do have a case.
Okay.
We got a juicy one this week.
Where does that come from?
It comes from the internet, to be honest with you. You can find a link if you're so inclined to learn more in our episode description, our show notes, as it were. Our defendant today is Earl.
It's my name.
Earl is the father of 3 kids, and he keeps pretty strict limits on the technology his kids have access to. Namely, they can't go on social media until they're 13. They can't get a smartphone until they prove they're trustworthy enough by taking care of a basic dumb phone first. The kids have very strict limits on screen time. And finally, Earl looks through his kids' phones, tablets, and laptops, whatever they may have, once a week to see what they're up to. Looks at their texts, all that stuff. Meanwhile, Earl's sister has kids, and she lets them do whatever the hell they want in regards to iPhones, social media, and this is making Earl's kids jealous. Earl's sister says, "You're being way too strict with these damn kids." And now Earl's questioning whether or not he's going about this whole parenting thing all wrong. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Earl should hurl the phones from his boys and girls, or if he should give something else a whirl.
Like what? What should he give it? Like a new hobby? Like you think he needs a new hobby?
Letting them look
Live
at
their life and be free? Porn?
Come on. Why would you say something like that?
Because what else are they looking at? Well,
Hentai?
well, okay. I mean, I guess that's a different.
Now, there are some
varietal of porn.
specifics here. The kids in question are like 9, 12, and 17, I think, are the ages.
Okay, yeah, that's quite
It's spread.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
spread.
a word. That's a word they can't search on their phones.
No, you want to be careful about spreading.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
No.
I promised I wasn't going to do
You
that.
told me this.
I
This is
promised
why we're
I wasn't
ending.
going to do that. It's fine. I'm not sick. I just have throat tickles, which is something else that they can't.
You
Google.
cannot search on your phone.
Well,
I'll be
you
right
could,
back.
but Daddy's going to find out, and he's going to.
Oh,
be
that's another
upset.
word you can't say either.
So, okay, this is phones. This has to do with phones, has to do with tablets, has to do with laptops. It's mainly about phones and social media.
And minors.
And miners who are dusty and dirty from working all day in the coal mines.
Can't bring your phone down in the mines. You get no service.
It's true. They probably got Wi-Fi down there nowadays, don't you
Wi-Fi,
think?
yeah.
Yeah, they got a Wi-Fi
Something.
down there.
You have to. How
Um,
else are you going to listen to your Pandora while you're mining?
I bet this has come up on our show before, but I can't really remember, and it's relevant to today's topic. So
Right.
maybe we can talk about our personal, not being parents, but having been children.
Right. I was once a child in my former life.
Right.
I don't like.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in my household, I was the technology person. I was the one who knew how to set up the computers and do all this stuff. So it's like, I really don't remember computer-wise being necessarily blocked from certain things on the internet. Sure, we were like, don't do this, don't do that, The family computer at the time was in the kitchen. So it was like, parents were watching what we were doing. I'm not even sure if there was like a major search history back in the day, because I would have gotten my first computer in like maybe 99, 2000. And that was like really when the internet had a big boom.
And that was like the family computer, I assume.
Yeah, that was our
Or-
family computer. I believe like maybe a parent had a computer at some point, but like the main family computer was like in the kitchen that we all kind of used because computers was expensive back in the day
Computers was expensive.
and big. They were large. They had a
Oh yeah, it took
CRT
up a whole
monitor.
room.
Yeah.
It was the 1950s, and all of that. It just spit out like a little equation. You
A
asked
data
it
card. Yeah.
to calculate the tip before you went out.
Right.
Took 48 hours.
Yeah. But it was fine.
Spit
They
it
knew
out
it.
for you. Well,
What about
we are a unique kind of. We're kind of the last generation who
Oh, thank God.
grew up.
Oh.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're close. Who grew up on the cusp where, as we were becoming teenagers, that's just when the internet and even smartphones were not a thing really until we were in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we didn't really have the same kind of, our parents didn't have the same kind of knowledge about technology or
right.
necessarily. So maybe some people's did. Mine didn't. They
Mine
didn't.
no.
Yeah, they didn't like know about these things. And also, it wasn't even an issue. I mean, I had a flip phone in high school.
Yeah.
But that's a very different thing from a smartphone.
And if you wanted to access internet from your flip phone, very expensive. That's what we would get in trouble for. I remember
Yeah.
getting in trouble for using too many minutes or using any data because data was minutes back in the day and they paid per minute for any data. So it's like, oh, if I used something to go onto a website or if I used my parents' phone, it was very expensive to, do whatever. I remember I think you would access internet occasionally from like a parent's BlackBerry. And like that
true.
was
My
our
mom had a
technology.
BlackBerry. Yeah, that was very exciting to be able to load a like text only web page
Right.
on a BlackBerry.
And because I'm pretty sure the iPhone original, which was like roughly one of the first real smartphones, there was a few before it, came out when I graduated high school. So around 2007 is when the first iPhone came out.
I remember I think senior year of high school for me, there was like one kid who had an iPhone.
Right.
And it was like, whoa, like weird. What is that?
You have a computer in your pocket. What's going
Yeah,
on?
like that's cool, I guess, but I don't know. Why would I want one of those?
Right. And there was nothing like the biggest app was like, oh, here's a candle that you can blow out on your phone. Or you could look like you're drinking a cup of beer via your, there was those stupid apps.
Oh my God. Sound effects buttons or something. I will never forget the first time I was on, a family cell phone plan when texting was starting to be more of a thing. And I don't know if I said or my parent said, like, what do I don't need, I'm not going to text that much.
Oh, right.
Like whatever plan it was, and then one day, my dad was just like, "Did you know that you spent like $200 on texts this month?" And he had to like talk to the phone company to be like, we have to change this. Something's wrong here.
That's funny.
I was
Because
like,
it was
I
such a new
didn't know.
technology that nobody was using, and like they didn't tell. They just assumed, oh, they'll just use it once or twice, and that's it.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh no, this is how these kids talk.
yeah. It's like, oh, and it's also funny now because it's like the idea of charging for per text or something is so.
I remember being so scared about like, okay, I can't open this text until after 5 o'clock when it's like free nights and weekends or something like that.
It's it's simpler times, or more complicated times.
Right, because I had to do math. I had to figure out how to type things via numbers and letters.
That's tricky.
To
I
hit
miss
A
those
3
days.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was good at that. The T9.
Yes, that was good. That was some good stuff.
I
And
could probably still
I
do it.
remember I was very excited when my first flip phone had a camera on it, which is another thing that parents are scared of because once you connect a device to apps and websites and then you have a front-facing and rear-facing camera, there are some issues that could arise in that world.
Many parents maybe aren't scared of it enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's just.
Have
it's
you
just
ever thought about
normal.
like if you ever were to have a child someday or anything like would you like block certain apps on a phone? Would you like because like we were definitely like having a conversation. It was like, oh, we would go in and disable a camera somehow.
So I guess maybe we can go down the list. Or we don't have to go down the whole list. But one place I definitely side with Earl on, with no ambiguity, is not being allowed on social media until you're 13, which I think is the actual, like, probably most of them, if not all of them,
That's a legal date.
technically require you to be 13 to be on
Right.
them, even though I'm sure lots of kids are before that.
Yeah.
Um, because I just think social media in general can be extremely psychologically damaging.
And I even think that 13 is kind of young.
It might be kind of young, honestly. Like, but the problem is, I mean, yeah, like, even like 16. But then
But you're
you
already
get
in
in
high school at 13, I think, right? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
13. You're almost in high school. You're more
Okay.
like 14 or 15 is more
Okay.
like high school. But it's also tough because you don't want to be the boomer and you don't want to be the
Right.
like, whatever the thing from the last generation, which was, well, I would never let my kid listen to Elvis.
Right. And it's also too, you don't want your kid to be socially behind too, because they're not seeing certain things that, because like for when we were
Right.
kids, like, around 13, most of our stuff came from video games or TV. And it's like, oh, everyone just had the TV. So it's like, if they were blocked certain things, you'd be socially behind, which would cause certain other stressors in a
Right.
young teenager's life. But I would, I think I do side with him a little bit on like going through a phone.
I feel
Up
like
until a
that's the
certain
big
age.
one.
That is a big one. And we you might talk about like people online. I've read stories about this where they're like, oh, there's privacy issues, and yeah, at 13 you don't have privacy.
Yeah, that's a very tricky subject to me. To me, I'll say, of all the things that we named that he does, social media at 13, like, reasonable.
Right.
You have to have a flip phone before you get a smartphone. I mean, that's funny. I don't know that it's like necessary, but it doesn't like offend me.
Talk about that for a second, because like, okay,
Yeah.
do you have to have a flip phone? That seems weird. It's like you have to prove that you can't break your flip phone, which
That's
seems kind of like what
basically-
he's saying. But like for me, it would be like, I don't want you to have a smartphone, so just so you can make phone calls to me or 911, here is a flip phone.
Right. Maybe it's a little of both. Yeah, I mean, what you said is more reasonable sounding.
Just because like I wouldn't trust a under 13-year-old with a glass smartphone.
Yeah.
Give them one of those flip phones that you could like, run a car over with and it's still fine. That
Right.
kind of stuff.
And screen time, everyone has their different that's a complicated subject, but it's not like whatever the screen time thing is, every parent is different. That's fine. To me, the only thing of this that's potentially really objectionable that like makes this worth discussing is the looking through their stuff aspect of it. Which you said you're fine with, or at least I don't know if there's, maybe you have more clauses.
I would say
in that.
fine with at that age, because you want to see, your 13-year-old, you don't want them to go on certain sites. I'm sure there are blocking things on cell phones. You can block like, all the different hubs and different other pornographic websites out there that you probably wouldn't want a 13-year-old to be stumbling upon, which is mostly what the internet is. Somebody sends them a link, you don't want them to go on it. Stuff like that always happen. It even happened when we were younger too. Like people in high school would be like, oh, here's, this is how you found stuff. It was like through word of mouth of people. Like, oh, here's this link I found. Go to it when you get home, or some stupid stuff like that.
You clicked the links section of the website and found other links.
Other links to different pages. That's how I like these websites. Go to these websites. Those were things that we did. But you want to make sure your child isn't talking to somebody weird, creepy. I don't know if I would necessarily go through like their personal texts. Like I wouldn't read text, but I'd be like, oh, who are you talking to? Unless I would get an issue like, oh, you find out that, you might have a suspicion that they're doing something weird. Then I would confiscate the phone and go through stuff. But I don't even know if I would check web history. I think I would just really check on, because there is certain like, not freedom, but like there is like, you want your child to be able to go through the internet. You do learn some things, good or bad, online. But my biggest thing is talking to other people. Going into chat rooms. Back in the day, it was AOL chat rooms for us, or Yahoo chat rooms.
Now it's what? Discord? There's no chat rooms.
Snapchat would be like you find But
Can
you
you
know
talk to
people,
strangers on there?
I
I
know.
guess you could. Like, you could.
I guess the biggest thing would be DMs. I would be checking people's
Mm,
DMs because, like, if my child had an Instagram or
mm.
whatever, and somebody that's public, somebody slid into their DMs, to use a term, I would want to see, like, oh, who are they talking to? I guess
Mhm.
Discord. Discord has chat rooms, but I think you have to find them more so stumble upon them.
Right. I mean, this it's still out there, just in different forms, but it is a little different. I don't know. Maybe it's not that different. It feels different than when we were kids, and it was just, here's a chat room with a million people. Who the hell knows
Right.
what's going on or why they're here or where they're from? Yeah, I mean, that is the defense. The case of this is the thing that you want to avoid. Like, I don't. He doesn't explicitly. Earl does not say exactly what he's worried about
Right.
or what he's looking for necessarily. But because if it's just like, I want to see what those little shits are up to.
Right.
But obviously, yes, you don't want your kid talking to child predators or
Right.
something like that. He does say, by the way, so his oldest kid is 17, and I believe he said, like, around 16 or 17, he stopped that. Like, he's like, that kid's old enough now, he doesn't look through their stuff
Right.
anymore. So
Well,
he has a
also
limit.
too, okay, at that age, do you really want to see what they're looking at?
I don't even know if at 13 you want to see what they're looking at.
Right.
I mean,
Because I know what I was looking at 13, and people did not want to see that shit.
it rhymes with schmunky schmorn. Yeah,
But you know, because like
Schmreck schmorn too.
schmick because like at that age you're figuring life out in a way. So it's like you're searching shit. As a parent, I don't want to stumble across my 17-year-old's kinks.
And
I'm
it's
sorry.
also, just like, again, it's so different now from when we were kids. You
Right.
actually did have to look for that stuff. Now,
Right.
you log into Gmail and they're just like, hey, look at this hardcore shit, you asshole.
Well, even like, okay, this is use something that's new and newish. Blue Sky, for example. You log into Blue Sky and you're just scrolling through Discover, and it's like, oh, there's furry.
Yeah, a lot of furries over on Blue Sky.
There are a lot of furries over on Blue Sky.
Hey, your kid can be a furry if that's what they're into.
But just using that for an example,
Not
it's like
mine.
No, I would disown them immediately.
No.
But it's just now, like, I feel like we had to discover the internet and we had to find these websites via like either forums or like people sending us stuff. Like I was saying, now you're right. It seems like it just kind of comes to them.
Now there's the
It-
algorithm.
It is, yeah. The algorithm is the scary part. Now, are there any apps that you wouldn't, minus like the obvious ones, wouldn't want your child to be using?
Apps specifically. I mean, I think it really does come down to social media.
Because
Those are
I was going to say websites, but like websites are dead basically.
yeah. I guess. Nah, like, go on Reddit. I think is fine if once you're like 12 or 30. I mean, obviously it depends on the kid. That's like all of these parenting things. It always depends on the specific kid. But
Right.
I do feel like Instagram and TikTok are very iffy for it. I feel like this.
Yeah.
I've seen Bo Burnham's 8th grade.
Right.
The social media, specifically in regards to seeing, like, the impressions that young kids get of, oh, I'm supposed to look like this, I'm supposed to be doing that. And or if you post a picture and it's like, why didn't I get the likes, why didn't my friend like this, can be, I feel, so damaging. And I actually don't think like Twitter now is a shithole, but a text-based one of those to me is much safer, and I'm not nearly as worried
100%.
about like the video or photo thing. That's way worse to me.
Yeah, I guess because working with Snapchat. I mean, I don't even have Snapchat on my
Snapchat
phone.
is not even on my radar because I'm like, we're too old for Snapchat.
Like, do you when's the last time you ever used Snapchat?
I've never Snapchat is the thing that makes me most feel like a boomer because I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't understand. Like, you take a picture and then it goes away. Like, what the fuck is? I don't even understand Instagram stories.
Right.
I'm so old. I don't.
I was doing a thing with I was doing a show, a play show, and somebody was like, "Oh, I don't really text, but you can Snapchat me." I'm like, "I'm 35." I'm like, "I'm not going to snap you. Send me a text."
Yeah, I don't. I think maybe. I guess it's not. I guess it's WhatsApp is the one that's good for if you're overseas or traveling.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I have used WhatsApp.
Because the one thing that also bothers me too about Snapchat is it goes away, which is
Right.
why people do like using it, because I do think the younger generation has a thing where, like, if you look back at our entire life at some point is on the internet via photos, not even stuff that we like put up, like videos and stuff like that we made, but like all of our stuff is online, where the newer generation, either Gen Z or younger, is very aware of like their internet footprint at this age in their life. So they use something like Snapchat, which sure, you can like screen grab or do whatever, but 90% of the time it is there for X amount of seconds and it goes away.
Yeah.
And it is harder to have, even like people taking photos of their children. They're like, can you not post it? Or they don't have this social media that you can tag them like we did with Facebook and stuff back in the day. So I do think they are more self-aware, which is good. But it's also like, I think of like, oh, what are you doing that you're deleting it in 30 seconds? Like what are you?
Right. Yeah. I do think that is a reaction that's interesting, because when the internet first started, the promise of it was everything's there forever.
Right.
That was one of the things that was exciting about it.
And now it's a threat.
Right. Now, yeah, right. And so I do think the younger generation was, it's almost like things go in cycle. Phones get bigger, phones get smaller again.
Right.
It's you don't want too much of one thing.
Right.
So yeah, and yes, there's definitely the, I don't know if it's just a scare thing that I'm sure it's happened, but yes, the idea of like, oh, if you're sending something that you want deleted, it's probably some kind of nude photo or something. That's
right.
a good
and that's
chance.
Like, and that could just be us at our age being like, okay, what are you doing?
I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm sending
Right.
those to you all the time.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you got to multitask.
Right.
For the only.
You can't see what's going on underneath the camera. Under the robe that's my only robes.
It's a horror show. Let's just put it that way.
Well, and that's the other thing too. You brought up there's like sites like the OnlyFans and stuff like that it still boggles my mind as somebody who was a teenager when all this stuff came around, that they only still in 2024 ask, "Are you 18?" and you just go, "Yep," and that's it.
Well, now isn't that the whole thing with Pornhub in Montana?
I wouldn't know.
Certain states where they're trying to make it a law where you actually have to upload a photo ID or something.
Yeah, and it's. I'm on the fence about that, because it's like, oh, you probably should, because it's like, oh, you should, prove that you're of a certain age to use that, be it, whatever age people think porn is, whatever. But like, then it's also like, oh, they 47. Have my information.
Right.
It's like, I don't know if I want them to know my search history, and now with the new regime of the government,
to your license.
Right.
Yeah, although they probably already have it. So
well, they already have all of our information, but it just makes me feel less vulnerable.
It's a little, it's they're not trying to hide it anymore.
No.
How long before it's, you gotta have your papers on you as you're walking around.
But that does make sense to me. It's like, oh, they just kind of like blindly ask you for 18. It's like, yeah. It's like, how many of those I was clicking at 13 to go, yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. Of course.
My birthday for years has been, January 1st, 1980, like whatever you can describe,
Sometimes I will just type in my real birthday, because it's easier for me to remember my real birthday than to make up, than to just try to find a fake one. Depends how they format it. But yeah, that's a whole other, I don't know how you solve that problem, but
it's always been like a weird thing to me. It's like, oh, all these parent groups and whatever are always scared about kids running across whatever, but they never put in like a real date thing. But like to enter a porn store or even a liquor store, you have to show an ID. But like the internet, that has much worse, much weirder things out there, much more dangerous things, you don't have to show anything. Like even like social media, where they're like, oh, you need to be 13 to 16 to use this app. Who the fuck's checking? Like no one. Like, is that just there so they can't get sued? Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
You figured it out.
But, and the people who would put this law into place don't want their ID tracked and having a paper trail, because they're the sick fucks who control the government, and they don't want people to know. So that's where that whole conspiracy theory comes from.
Right.
Like,
Well, it's also like I don't think the people trying to put that law in place are acting in the interest of kids.
No.
Like that's not their real motivation. They're trying to control people. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that much, but no one in government does things for good reasons.
Because I'm sure all these porn sites are getting most of their views from people who are like 20 and under. Like that's what people like.
I wonder. I don't. Well, because they would never share those stats because
You would never know because everyone was born January 1st.
Right. 18 to 20, right, they wouldn't know either, but I have no idea nowadays. Because I would imagine it's still mostly older. I think it's I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked at the studies. I'm a judge, not a scientist.
No, you wouldn't
not a
know.
Statistician?
You're not a statistician?
It's not a statistician.
Because
So
I
I
would
would-
like, good.
I would understand I'd probably block Pornhub from my kid's phone.
Well, yeah, you would want to. I would think for me personally, I would block like any real pornographic site or anything where you can share photographs.
Oh, what about YouTube?
See,
in the
YouTube's
same
an
vein.
interesting place because it's like, even like when we go through, I mean, I know it's very algorithm heavy, but like when you just kind of like let it play by itself, sometimes videos come up that it's like, oh, that's not
Yeah. Well, for little kids,
there's YouTube
that-
Kid.
but yes, like I think YouTube Kids maybe is okay, but there's some weird, gross shit on there that's marketed towards kids, or
Right.
even just like toy videos. Like there's a lot of just weird, bad shit.
Yeah.
That gets pumped out for younger kids, but for like a teenager, I'm thinking like 13 or older. Oh god.
Oh no. Oh god.
Indigestion.
Oh.
I'm fine.
Upset stomach, diarrhea.
I think
Pepto-Bismol.
lymphoma.
Oh, well, look at you.
YouTube
Right.
is almost banning YouTube is almost like banning TV now.
Right.
Like it's it's not even as much like technically it's social media, you can upload your own videos. I mean that's a different thing. You'd have to talk to your kid about if they're gonna actually make videos.
I would say 90% of YouTube users don't upload.
Right. Oh yeah, most likely. Or they have like, they posted one 20-second video from their phone that they for their
Right.
friends.
It's them laughing at each other. Right.
Yeah. So that is like a little bit less because it's just become, I mean, you can even watch TV on YouTube or listen to music.
Right.
It's just like such an all-encompassing media platform.
And like saying, because there are a lot of restrictions on YouTube. Yes, there's a lot of stuff to get around it. And there are there are ways that like people do put in little things that kids can find, and it may be porn or graphical violence.
Yeah,
or
where is
drinking
that
or
anyway?
whatever. It's youtube.com/porn.
Okay. All right. Tell me that link later.
I'm sure somebody has that. But anyway,
Tell
so like
Richard.
YouTube, as a uploader of YouTube content, there are a lot of checks and balances that you have to go through before you upload your video. And if it's something that YouTube finds unsavory, that goes against their guidelines, it gets taken down, and then eventually your channel gets taken down. So I think YouTube, it is harder. Like back in the day, like we were mentioning, like the kids don't really cable, but like if you think about cable back in the day, yeah, they had the V chip, which was something you had to put in a passcode for. But 9 times out of 10, you can kind of like get past that if your parents didn't set that up, and you can find stuff if you're sitting on the couch past midnight. And there's, we like back in the 90s and early 2000s, Comedy Central after like 10 o'clock would have the Girls Gone Wild commercials. Yeah, they wouldn't
I never saw
show
those.
anything, but you told me about them. You're the one who.
No, no, Christian household. Didn't watch that kind of thing. Now I do. Now I do.
Right. Now you just watch the 90s commercials on loop of Girls Gone Wild. But like there was that
those girls
stuff.
were underage.
Oh,
turned out
most of them. They
later
were
on.
wild.
Yeah, we found
They were
out.
girls.
Yeah,
They
it
weren't-
wasn't.
They weren't women gone wild. They
It
were
wasn't
girls gone
good.
wild.
Wasn't
But
good.
there was that stuff. And then we brought up a lot more like the pornographic side of things. But you did bring up something interesting too, with the
once.
toys and stuff like that. I'm more so concerned about stuff being marketed to my child than I probably would be against like some pornographic stuff. Because like there are like these YouTube channels where it is a kid opening toys and pushing their toy onto said kids. And I think it is worse
It's insidious.
than when we were kids.
Watching some of those, it makes me feel so filthy. Like really feel there is just something about them that's just gross. Like you can just tell that it's there's some parent behind them figuring out the content and making, millions of dollars off their kid playing with goo or whatever. It's just like
that they later on in the comments, they make it very easy for you to like click buy for the kid because the credit card is saved to the account. So
right. Maybe, I don't know, is this money laundering? Is this like a pedophilia ring? There's something going on here I don't like.
But like I think that more concerns me. Like, yeah, sure, back in the day, like all TV was like, Transformers was a TV show based on you going out and buying a toy. But I think now it's more so like that.
You still had to write a story. You had to trick the kids. Right. You had to at least try a little bit.
But you also had to broad spectrum get everyone in one go. Where these are like, if your kid is watching videos on slime, they're going to get slime things only. And it's very specifically driven to that child.
It's not long until they get Elsa and Spider-Man covered in sticky slime.
Right.
You're like, oh, no.
Right. And then you listen, it's like that sound effects. It's like, oh, no, that's just porn. You're listening to porn with a
Elsa from Frozen goes to the dentist and look at her tongue. It's got hairs on it. Like they have so much gross, weird shit like that.
Elsa has a stepsister. It's like,
it's always Elsa. It's always
Elsa.
She does have no, I guess they're just sisters.
You gotta let her go.
That's from Wicked?
Yeah.
So okay. So we both agree there's limits that you got to put in place on kids. You should be paying attention. I want to bring it back to the crux of this, which we didn't quite put a pin in.
Bring it back,
which is the looking through their tech.
Right.
And I am a little more. To me, I feel like by the age of 13 or so, I would want to not be doing that. I feel like that is more of a time when the kid you shouldn't be needing to do that. But really, what it is it's an issue of trust. And this is me saying a lot of big ideas for someone who's not a parent, but
Wait,
I will still say them. Come at me,
bro.
I think it's the better option rather than going through your kids' browser history and their texts every week or whatever. Teach your kid to talk to you about what they're doing on the computer. Because what you're doing is that's making them feel like they'll feel guilty, or they feel like what if they do have something to hide? If they know you're looking at their phone, they'll find a way to hide it from you, probably.
Yeah, they're not stupid.
Especially like once they're 13, they're going to figure out what to do.
Right.
And they're going to resent you for it and be annoyed. Or you could actually teach your kid, like, hey, I won't get mad at you. If someone weird talks to you or messages you, or if you see a website you're not sure about, tell me about it.
Right.
And have a conversation about it.
And be more open and not be
it's a lot healthier to me.
Yeah. And having your kid come to you and have open conversations, even like share stuff back and forth. Like, oh, this is what I'm doing. What are you like? I would say make it so it's like, oh, you are looking at their phone,
Make it so.
But you're not like looking at, like, it's more of like they're inviting you to them.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, which is like a lot of things with kids. Like same thing with, what kind of movies they watch or whatever. Like you don't want them hiding. You want to like be like, hey, is this? I don't know. You talk to them.
Right.
Yeah, and that's definitely like younger kids for sure. If they're like 10 and under, sure, look through their phone because they probably don't even know what they're doing.
Right.
And they might not even realize that something is bad. But like I think like 12, 13, by the time you get up to that age, I don't know, you shouldn't be, it's like reading your kid's diary or something.
That's what that was one of the things I was going to bring it back to. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, especially like you said, like looking at browser history is one thing, but reading don't read their texts. No. Come on.
Right.
That's too far. That's definitely too far.
Now, I would say maybe once in a while go through and be like, oh, who are you texting? But not really
right. Look at the names, maybe.
Like if the numbers don't match, whatever. And I would say too, if they're showing odd or weird behaviors, like if you walk past them and they turn off their phone and put it in their pockets, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's like the That's like the TikTok boyfriend test. You say, "Hey, let me see your phone."
Right.
And if they don't want to give it to you, you break up with them.
Right. Yeah. Or if they're putting their phone down, screen down, that's a no-no.
Yeah. Or if they, well, I do that because then it goes into do not disturb mode.
I also have a pop socket on the back of my phone, so it's
Well, yeah. What are you gonna? Yeah. I don't, or if you ask your boyfriend to peel an orange for you,
What is this one?
it's just supposed to, if they either say yes or no, and if they are like, "What? Huh? No," then you break up with them.
That's
You should ask Danny if he'll peel an orange for you. See what he says.
that's a good orange. I also, have you ever seen the one where it's like, oh, how does a guy put on chapstick? Like if you hand a man chapstick, how they put it on?
No,
That's a whole weird thing because apparently men can't lipstick. I don't know.
Hold on, let me see.
Wait,
I got some.
how does on the second to last episode of Geeks on Trial, how does Jonathan put on chapstick?
Are people gonna jerk off to this? You think?
Oh, that's
This
weird.
is this weird? I'm putting on chapstick for audio listeners.
I don't have chapstick, but I think it's supposed to be like because like
Did I do it wrong?
like, I don't know.
My lips feel so moist.
Oh, that's glue. That was a glue stick, Jonathan.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Here, that's this one.
There you go. When's the last time you used a glue stick?
What else you want? I got props. I'm like Carrot Top over here.
We're waiting until now to break these out. This is where we get the listeners and views.
I know. Well, nothing goes better on an audio podcast than props. Prop comedy. Folks, I have a funny balloon right now. Imagine a big funny balloon.
Now, so then there's the other parent that we have to talk about too, who is the complete
His
polar
sister.
opposite.
Yeah.
That lets the kids go balls to the wall, do whatever you want. I'm not checking anything, not censoring anything. I think that is a little bit too much. Like I think both of these parents or siblings are polar opposites. Where I think, okay, the
I
smartphone
think these kids
thing,
are 10, by the way. I think her kids are both 10.
Okay.
They're twins.
The smartphone thing, I really don't care about. It's like, fine, if you have a smartphone, you want to use it, whatever. That's a weird dad quirk. But I would say you need to have a medium. Have a, you can check some stuff, maybe put bans on other things. Definitely don't let your 10 to 17-year-old, let's say 10 to 15-year-old,
Lymphoma?
10 to 15-year-old, a little bit, have free reign over the internet. Because like that can be problematic for a number of reasons.
That's how you get X.com.
Right. Hey, listen, I had free reign over the internet, and you know how many illegal songs I downloaded and just had viruses everywhere? My
Not
parents
me.
probably should have watched.
No, I owned legal copies of the Zelda song by System of a Down.
Right. Or
and Sesame Street.
Sesame Street, or the Weird Al songs that weren't really Weird Al.
Weird Al's
Another
Zelda
Corona
song.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Corona?
My Corona? I don't know. So yeah, so there are like you have to be halfway through, and you have to go with whatever your child is, because every kid grows differently and has different backgrounds, and there are some kids who don't even want a smartphone, some that do, some that at a certain age they are going to be asking for it. Then you have to decide as a parent where you want to go with that.
Yeah, I do think the answer lies somewhere in the middle.
Right. We
do have two kind of extreme ends here.
Right.
But it's also hard to say because, we're judging from a distance. It's different. We're hearing one person's side of it. I don't know if I knew. Maybe, a kid could be perfectly well adjusted with an iPhone and an Instagram account, and another kid could be a weird little problematic freak who
Right.
doesn't have any of them.
Right.
So it's not like there's a right answer, one size fits all for every kid. But the struggle here is we have to decide if Earl is guilty of his behavior, of being too strict with his kids on technology. And so I do think his sister maybe is being too lenient.
Right. Oh, 100%.
But that's not him. So
Right.
we're not judging her. Well, we can.
No. Well, we can.
Yeah,
I do.
we did.
Yeah.
We will.
We judged her pretty hard. So, to break it down for me, I don't know if I'm getting into my things yet.
Yeah.
What are the three ages? 10, 13, and 17?
Yeah. Yeah.
The 17-year-old is
9.
just thrown out. That to me is like, they're an adult, they're working, they're going to be going to college soon. If they aren't already in college at the age of 17, they are not in this case for my consideration at all.
Okay. Throw it out. Strike it from the record.
I'm gonna get into my verdict. Are you ready?
Do it. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready, man. I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm ready to hear yours.
So it's 10 and 13, right? Those are the two ages that we're dealing with.
Or 9 and 12
I would
or something.
say, under the age of 14 to me. Under the age, once you get to be a freshman in high school, so like 8th grade and under, I do think checking a child's phone is okay. Maybe not necessarily reading in depth into these texts, because first off, you're not going to understand what they're saying. They're going to be skibbitying and they're going to be throwing words out that you're going to have to Google. Then you're going to get into a rabbit hole that you don't want to deal with. I do that today just watching YouTube videos, and I'm 35. So, there's issues with that you're, but like, you just want to make sure, are they only texting the people you approve for their phone, which is another thing you can do on a phone, which I do agree with. You can only text these X amount of people, your friends in school, people I approve. That kind of stuff I like. Having a blocker on their websites, or I think there's a few things where it's like through the Google Store or the Apple Store, before you download an app, it gets sent to your parent's phone and they approve it. That I'm okay with as well, because you kind of see like, are they downloading Tinder? Why? Why are you downloading Tinder?
Roblox, something that
right, or like
money.
Some video game or video app thing that could rot their brain in a different way.
I wouldn't let my kids have Roblox. I can tell you that right now.
I don't even let me have Roblox. So it's like, so I do agree with him in a lot of this. Not guilty.
Yeah. This is kind of tricky for me. I don't think that the things Earl is doing make him a bad parent. I'm not going to say that. Like, I don't think anything he's doing is so over the line. In fact, I already said like 3 of the 4 things I pretty much am like, that you could argue them, but it's like at the end of the day, it's fine.
Right.
Looking through the phones is, to me, I do think. But I feel like it's a little extreme, but I'm also, again, from a different time. Social media is different now. Phones are different now. Right. So I'm not sitting here and going, oh, this guy definitely, like, no one should do this. It's not so outlandish to me. Like, I get where he's coming from to some extent. I wish we had more information about. Like, it sounds like he is reading texts, I think.
Yeah, and that does, like I said, unless it's like you can tell it's from somebody they don't know or incriminating, like.
Yeah, and also you threw out the 17-year-old, but from the sounds of it, up until that kid turned 17, he was doing this with that kid too. So he was doing this with a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old.
Yeah, that is problematic.
So I'm like, but I also, on the other hand, I don't necessarily think his sister is like, I think she's probably being a little annoying, and she's like criticizing him for his methods, and maybe she should keep her kids in line because she knows there's 2 different methodologies here. And
also, too, what I was thinking is like, is she saying this stuff in front of the other kids? So it's like, are they seeing their cousins? And it's like, Johnny doesn't get his phone checked, but I do. What the shit? So
yeah, well, she's all according to the thing that she said that she was going to buy his kids iPhones for their birthday or something.
See, that's too much. That's like,
well, that's like, yes, but I mean, like, I can't, that's a different. It's not part of this case, but it's like, obviously, yes, she's being unreasonable. She's being annoying. Right. Like, I'm almost wanted to say a mistrial, but I think maybe I just will say like a soft, not guilty. I do think he's pushing it a little too far, and I do feel like personally, I imagine if I had kids, I would be trying to take a hands-off approach or more than this, and like I said, I don't think it's really super healthy what he's doing necessarily, but it's also not like, again, it's not it doesn't make him a bad person. It's not like we need to take his kids away from him. He's a little more strict than I think he should be, and his kids might resent him for it, but then that's his problem. He'll have to deal with the consequences.
The way I put it into my head, not to sway you either one side or the other, but it's like, would you let your kids just blindly go into a candy shop and just go wild and eat all the, it's kind of like the same,
It is kind of the same. It is kind of the same. I understand what you're saying. I mean, yes, that's the part of the problem is that all of this stuff is still so new,
right?
That it's, even though it's not that.
Is
new
it though?
Anymore,
yeah.
There's still news. Like, we didn't have TikTok 5 years ago, so right. Things are still emerging and changing all the time so fast. That it's hard to even say. Like, at 50 years, maybe we'll be able to look back and say what was right and what was wrong. But right now, it's kind of like, you got to do what you got to do. You got to try your best. Is it a little silly and old fashioned and overbearing? Probably, but yes, but not. I don't think it's far enough over the line. I'm gonna be a little soft on this guy and say not guilty as well.
Things you also have to put into your child's phone. A little soft on this guy is another thing you can't.
Yeah, you need to block that phrase specifically.
But I was just thinking about it too. Like, I don't think my parents ever checked my emails, my chat logs.
Oh no,
my text
never.
Messages.
I would have been. I wouldn't have. Well, and it's also at a certain age. I mean, I guess he would just say, you either let me do that or you don't have a phone.
Right.
But again, it was so different in our time. Like, because our parents didn't even know. No one was telling people about why that might be dangerous.
Right. But like most
also,
of the
they
stuff,
just
my parents
trusted us, so we were good kids.
They trusted us, and they just knew, like, oh, it's going to be some weird shit. I've heard their friends talk to each other. I know their friends. Like, I guess what it's like, it would be different was like when I was like 17, 18 and dating at that point. But like at that point, they didn't care. Like, I was not on my own, but it's like, they trusted us to do whatever. I don't think they ever any of that kind of stuff. Mainly TV shows and movies and video games and stuff. They kind of like,
because that's what you understand. That's what they grew up with. So
there was a rating system with that. There's no rating with your texts.
No, phones should have a little parental advisory sticker on them.
Mm-hmm. The ESRB? What is it? MSR? What?
It's one of those. I suppose we have to sentence now Earl's sister some kind of punishment.
Either the basic one, Earl has to check her phone.
Is that?
She has to submit her phone at the end of every week and get it checked by Earl to make sure it's safe for work. She has to or she has to have blockers on her phone.
I think maybe I like that idea. I think that's part of it. What if we swap these kids? What if he raises her 2 kids with his phone limits for give him a month?
Well, that's
and then I bet.
Kids.
Well, I don't. Well, yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't like these kids, but maybe they'll learn something. The grass isn't always greener. Maybe the kids who are always on their iPhones will be like, "Oh, I went outside and read a book today."
Right.
And the other kids will be like,
"Oh, thank you, Father."
"Oh no, I got molested by all these predators," and they'll learn a lesson too.
Well, it'll open up a whole new world of internet for them, and they'll just be shocked and never want to go online again.
Yeah, maybe that's what you do. It's like when it always comes back to the classic smoking the whole box of cigarettes. You show you want on the internet? Have you ever heard of Goatsy?
Right.
You know about 2 girls, 1 cup? Come on in, kids. Check it out.
You ever been to? Wasn't there just a website back in the day, just gross.com, or it was like something stupid? Like it was like
probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Punish everybody, and also, you know what? I said he's not guilty, but I still don't like Earl, and I say break one of his legs.
Or he has to go only on the dark web. He's dark web only from now on.
Order a clone on the dark web.
Yep,
and
see
or
what
a scary
happens.
clown. Or a potato chip man.
There's a thing?
No, I just said words.
All right.
Well, I'd be curious to hear what our viewers and listeners might think of this episode. If you're on YouTube, you can leave a comment on this video. Or email us, geeksontrial@gmail.com. What do you think? What do you think, everybody? This is are you a parent? It's one of those. We sure do love judging parents. You know what? I think we'd be good ones. Better than these assholes.
Right. Yeah. Let's have some
kids.
Instead of sending us stuff for Patreon, send us your kids.
Send us some kids. We'll raise them better than you.
Right.
Start a new daycare service. I'll show them what's what on the internet.
Right. Oh, you'll see some stuff. Don't check this man's search history.
They're gonna learn.
Goatsee's clean.
Well,
Well,
I don't know if he is.
he might not be.
Well, he might be.
I don't know.
I bet he takes care of himself.
Probably just to get that far, you'd have to. Yeah.
Do you want to tell people where they can find you on the internet, or do I do that first?
Oh yeah, because we're not doing a certain part of the show anymore.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it.
Hey, Jonathan, where can people find you on the internet?
Hey, check me out at jonathanestes.com or over on Blue Sky at Quentz. I'm now on Blue Sky, and it's they got like 15 million subscribers in the last week or something.
It's actually pretty wild.
The mass exodus is taking place right now. All the furry art you can handle over on Blue Sky. You want to? Yeah. Oh yeah. It's Chef's Kiss. How about you, Ivan?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot more on Blue Sky now. I'm trying to post at least once a day, either a photo or a funny comment on the world around us. It's Ivan Hahn over at Blue Sky, or it's at Blue Sky, whatever. There's a whole URL attached to it. Just find me.
Yeah, I don't. Do you need all that stuff? Because it's like Blue Sky. Is that a thing? I think
but it's
you
like
can just type
it's like
in the
BLUSKY. It's something. Just look up.
I think
Ivan
if you
Hahn.
just type / Ivan Hahn, I think it works.
And I'm actually really happy because we got on early, so it's like I actually am Ivan Hahn on there, and it's not like Ivan Hahn 19, 13, 20. There's not. And other than that, ivanhahn.com and youtube.com/thesnackguy for snack reviews, and until next time.
Whoa! Stay tuned next week for our big. It's going to be a big, exciting, climactic episode. We're going to climax.
Yes, we're going to climax all over the internet. That's how we're going to end it.
And then,
right, Jip, you're just going to show
one
our
in the
fingers.
mouth, two in the south.
That's how we end it.
I'm Jonathan Estes. Shit.
Damn
Case
it.
is closed. Bye.
Bye.